so much for agreeing to be interviewed. I'm really
Hi.
honored to speak to you. My name is June.
Hi,
So,
June.
yes, I was actually watching your previous interviews, and you've already answered this many times, but I thought I'll ask you again.
Sure.
So, what first attracted you to acting, and was there ever a point where you considered a more conventional career with pay slips and stuff?
I was led into acting through my failings at the academic side of school life. Really, when it came to the what they call GCEs over here, I ended up failing all but one. Uh, and so I had to look around for something else to do. I wasn't going to get enough qualifications to go to university. And so by the suggestion of a drama teacher at school, I joined a drama club. I had a go at um, getting into Central School of Speech and Drama, and I got in miraculously. I was as surprised as anyone was, and so I drifted into it. I wasn't really had great ambition. I enjoyed acting in the drama club and in the local amateur dramatics, but that was it. I didn't really think any more about it, and then when I left drama school, I just fell into the first job, and then things just sort of it was like a roller coaster from then. And so, yeah, I felt I wasn't as committed to being an actor as some of my other people at drama school, but yet people just kept offering me work, and so you just go with it.
Yeah, that's great. Because acting these days is quite hard to break
Hmm.
into. I guess though when you started, right? So were the like you said, you had consistent work. So what made you decide to take on the risk of becoming an actor? Was it because you had consistent work and you felt it was a calling or something like
Well,
that?
I did think of obviously when you're a teenager at school, you don't really think about the future. At least I didn't. I think it's common with people, with teenagers, that they don't really think about the time when they're going to have to go out to work because it's so far away. So my father would try and persuade me to try and apply for various jobs. And I would have been maybe quite happy. There was one moment when I was out of work after about two years in the business, where I got a job in the local tax office, and I had no prospect of work at that particular moment, and so I decided that maybe I should, actually become a civil servant. Um, but then a job came along, and I said, "Oh, okay, I'm going to be an actor." Um, in fact, I lied about the exams I got to get into the temporary job at the tax office. So, I was found out. Um, so then I just went back to acting, and I enjoy it. I don't think I was ever really ambitious. I don't think. I mean, obviously, you think when you start out, if I had the perfect role, I could be really good. And you just have to wait for that perfect role to come along. And I don't know if it ever did or has yet. Um, but yeah, I was very happy to do what I've been doing. My feeling about it is that I've got away with it for 50 years, and that's pretty good going, I think, to get away with it for that long.
Yeah, so that comes to a good segue to my next question. Do you think the fact that you were not ambitious and just going with the flow was the key to your very, very illustrious, long, and successful career?
Y- Maybe I really don't know. I think that I was fortunate in the first couple of jobs I had. I remember All Creatures Great and Small, which is a series I did about veterinary surgeons. At the audition, I managed to spill a cup of coffee all over myself when I was trying to read the script, and I think the idiocy of that moment appealed to the producer. So they thought, "Oh, well, let's give this boy a chance." I don't think I've ever started a role where I've thought I can do this. There's a process I seem to go through, And my wife reminded me of this only recently. Whenever I start a part, come home after the first couple of days and go, I've no idea how I can do this part. It just seems to me it's impossible for me. It's not right for me. And the next thing you know is we're making it, we're performing it, and people like it. So as it out, I thought it's probably not. I'm probably not going to work very much. And then the parts started coming in, and then more came in, and you don't have time to think. So there's no point really where I had to sit back and reflect on my ambition. To
Okay.
me, it was just jobs would come at me, and I know I realized. Let me just say, I've been incredibly lucky. And I can't disguise that. But my only excuse is I just did the things that the people offered me, and I realise now, looking back on it, and to look at the state of the acting profession today, is I was incredibly fortunate.
All
You
right.
know, seemed to be in the right place at the right time on many occasions.
So I'd just like to pick your brain a bit on that. So is it easy for actors, like to cry on cue? And I also want to ask you, did you actually go for like proper training to do this, or it just came to you naturally?
Writing specifically.
Yeah, because I feel like sometimes,
Well,
oh,
I find it my way of doing it. I'm sure every actor has their own way of doing it. Is you just think of a very emotional thing that happened in your life. If it's sad, you just think that in your head in that moment of in the scene when you're performing it. And suddenly, I don't think I've ever managed to tear up, but you certainly get that feeling inside you if you just think of something, whether it's the death of a pet or whatever the moment is that was tragic in your life. You use that, and you kind of in your head that it's happening at that moment. It's a
right.
strange thing, I know.
Very many actors, they struggle with rejection, especially these days.
Mm.
What advice would you give to young performers trying to build a career in the industry? I'll give you a bit of context. So
Yeah,
nowadays, a lot of actors, right, they get their first break through social media. So
yeah.
influencers, comedians, they have pages, and they really blow up on TikTok, and somehow you see them on the big screen, or they do like shows. That's the segue to get in. Like you build up an audience, and then you get
Mm.
into the acting business. But what do you? And sometimes people make it, some people don't make it. So, what advice would you give to performers trying to build a career?
I don't know about the social media side. I've heard of this thing that people get cast because they've got a certain number of followers. I don't really buy that. I'm not sure that's true. I'm sure it's a factor. It's a great advantage to if you've employed someone who's got 50,000 followers. It's an advantage, but I don't think it's going to get you the part. Um, the thing about rejection is what young actors, anyone coming into the business, have to understand is it's rarely about how good you are. You can be really good in a scene, in a self-tape that you do, but if you don't match what the producer or director has in their head, you might be too short, you might be too tall, you might be too fat, you might be too thin. If you don't match up with the person, if it's in a relationship with the size or the look of the other person they've cast, then you won't get the part. It's just simple as that. It's rarely about how good you are, and I think we often young people think that's why I didn't get that part. I didn't quite get it right. It's not. It's a practical thing. Sometimes you can be not good looking enough. You can be too good looking. So a rejection I would say is just a part of it. You have to deal with it, and you have to understand that you get rejected not because you're not good. There is somewhere probably a part out there. There is a part out there for you, but maybe it wasn't this one simply because of a physical side to it. And that's I know it's a brutal thing, but that's the truth of it. Rejection, you just have to get used to. I never expected to get a job when I went up for it. I often did, but I know actors who've gone up for parts and got and thought, I really cracked that. I'm really going to get it. That to me is not a good frame of mind to have because the overwhelming likelihood when you do a self tape, especially nowadays, or an audition, face-to-face audition, is that you won't get the part. So that's what you have to accept. The chances of you getting any job you go for are slim. And if you're enjoying what you do, whether it's something that your friends do or you do on your own, a lot of actors now are filming little short scenes or short film, 15-minute films. If you enjoy that and you can survive financially, then go for it. It's a rewarding life, even if the thing that you're making doesn't make the world go wild. It's still a good life. It's a creative life, which is I always think really important. So, but you can't be bothered. You can't get depressed about rejection because rejection is 90%, 95% of an actor's life.
All right. So you mentioned financial just now. Do you have tips for actors how to save their paycheck? Because sometimes, they will have lots of work. And then you've
Yeah.
also mentioned that you had 1.5 years without work after, so what kind of tips do you have for actors?
Well, I think nowadays I'm coming to believe I have two sons who are both actors. I had a daughter who was an actress until she married well, and so I would say it's it's difficult um, to know what to do about the financial side. I think what you need now, actors, is you need what they call a side hustle. You need to have another job that you can do, preferably semi-skilled job that you can do when you're not working. So I think it should be something that is a hands-on thing, that would be unaffected by AI, shall we say? I don't know how AI is going to affect everything, but so I keep telling my son, he mocks me for this. I think you should train to be a plumber. You know, plumber. These are the ones I come up with: plumber, bricklayer, and plasterer. Any of those jobs, if you just perfect those, you can just, when you're not working, you can go off and earn money and you can help support yourself, but you haven't given up your acting life. So I think, yes, the way to do it, you need two jobs now as an actor to survive, unless you're very successful.
Yes. So I'd like to move on to Doctor Who. So fans around the world still celebrate your portrayal in Doctor Who.
Mhm.
So why do you think Doctor Who continues to capture people's imagination?
Um, my normal answer to this is that if we knew that, everyone would be making a series like Doctor Who. The concept of it, if you think about it, is pretty brilliant. It started off with just a basic, an uncle and his niece, supposedly, who mysteriously had this police box, and but he was a Time Lord. He time traveled, and when you're a time traveler, it opens up the whole area of storylines. You can do whatever you want. You can do a story that took place 500 years ago. You can do a story that takes place 500 years in the future on a different planet, the same planet. You can go anywhere you want. So the element of what will the next story be on Doctor Who was just open to the writer's imagination.
All right. So what is the one behind the scene fact or story from Doctor Who that fans might have been surprised to learn even after all these years? Can you, like, if you can do?
Oh, I don't know. when I did when I first visited the new Doctor Who set, the Doctor Who came back in 2005, and in the second year when David Tennant took over, I happened to know the director of his first story, and so I got to bring my two children, young, they're about sort of 5 and 7, along to the set. Now, when I had done it in the early 1980s, the Doctor Who had a very low budget, and we did not have enough time in the studio, and everything was made with the same, with panic and confusion. We were always up against the clock. Sometimes we couldn't finish the scenes. The special effects were primitive. And while I loved making Doctor Who, it was always a battle against the lack of money and the lack of time. And when it came back in 2005, it looked glorious. It had amazing special effects because the digital age had come around. And I was very interested to go along to the new set. So we went along, and within about an hour of being there, I realized rather gratifyingly that the series was still made with the same panic and confusion and lack of money and lack of budget as it always had been. It was exactly the same. I was expecting this kind of slick Hollywood type production. And in fact, it was so familiar to me. We're running out of time. Why won't this thing work? So yeah, that's the thing, is nothing ever changes. What you see on the screen is the result of editing
Oh,
and putting bits and pieces together. And actually, that's got easier over the years. But television is always made. No one ever has enough time. If you gave us twice as much time, we wouldn't have enough time.
all right. So, a Doctor Who has seen many different actresses take on a role. So, is there a particular Doctor or an era or the show that you especially admire, and why?
Um, the answer would be my favorite Doctor across the board, and we've had some brilliant people do it, would be Patrick Troughton, because it was really down to him about whether the series continued. When the series started, William Hartnell was the Doctor. He was the Doctor for 3 years until he became really too ill to carry on. And the BBC had to decide whether they cancelled the series or whether they found another way out. And what they came up with was the idea of regeneration. And so they brought in another actor, and it could have been a disaster. But Patrick Troughton, I think in that very first story, first episode, he was so brilliant that he just won people over. And from then on, he was the Doctor. So without Patrick Troughton, Doctor Who would not be here now. It would have gone by the wayside. So he managed to bring a certain magic. He was a terrific actor, Patrick Troughton. I'd worked with him before, actually, well, before I became the Doctor. But he really was a terrific choice for the Doctor and changed the whole thing. I mean, he changed it. He wasn't The character was nothing like William Hartnell's, and yet he was absolutely the Doctor. So he would be my favourite of that era. In the subsequent eras, when it came back, well, I suppose I have a certain fondness for the 10th Doctor, as, as in the end he took my daughter off my hands. But, yeah, no, I thought he came back with huge amount of goodwill among the fans who had missed it. And Russell T Davies did a wonderful job in that first series that he produced. And of course, the combination of Russell T Davies, who was a lifelong Doctor Who fan, and David Tennant, who was a lifelong Doctor Who fan, was what really gave Doctor Who an extra boost. I couldn't, notwithstanding Chris Eccleston, who was the first Doctor when he came back, who was great too.
Awesome. So, what still excites you about acting, and are you taking on any new projects?
Uh, yeah, I really enjoy it. Really, now I make the choice about what to do on whether I would enjoy it. I'm too old to have ambition, I think now. But I am aware that I'm essentially a very lazy person. So if I'm not being offered work, I just sit on the sofa and stare into space, which is valuable in itself, I believe. But nevertheless, I just feel like I'm just sitting there doing nothing, I'm maybe watching the telly. So when I'm offered a job, it's an opportunity to get off that sofa. And so I still work when I'm offered a job. I've recently done a series over here called The Good Ship Murder. Uh, um, I've done 8 episodes of that, which was enormous fun to do. I have no idea what it'll be like, but I had a great time doing it. Everyone was lovely on it, and so yeah, the thrill of working. I still get that kind of adrenaline rush when I'm working when I'm doing acting. Sounds like that goes against the idea that I wasn't really destined to be an actor. I didn't have a passion for it, but I've got a passion for it because listen, I've been fortunate enough to do a job my entire life, which is fun to do. Which I really enjoyed doing that. You suddenly you start work at 7 o'clock in the morning, and the next thing you know, it's lunchtime. Sorry, I'm going on a bit, aren't I? Uh,
I have one final question. So actors these days, actors get cancelled for having an opinion on, politics or anything.
yeah.
I I wondered if you had an opinion on that. Should they be like, should people look at them as two different individuals acting, and then it shouldn't like mingle? Like they can still have an opinion without having their craft being, um,
Well, I think I've changed my opinion of this over the years because, and I think I'm not a fan of social media. Just not a fan of it. I think it's a bad idea. I'm not suggesting it should be banned or anything like that, but I just think it's ultimately an incredibly destructive thing that's going on. And of course, everyone is entitled to their view. I'm not sure that everyone should say what they think. Everyone appears to think they have now the ability to put something on social media, and then actors maybe will do the same. But what you've got to realize is for an actor is that you are using your influence. You're trying to influence something, and people, I don't think, buy it anymore from actors. So I think it's probably just as well. If you have opinions, absolutely fine, but I don't think you need to shout them out loudly at people. It doesn't help anything. It doesn't convince the people who don't agree with you. It only reinforces the people who do agree with you. And what's the point of that? So I have lots of opinions as I get older, and I just don't say them to anyone. Because I don't think it's worth it. Why should I? Why should I go, endorse certain things or say one thing or the other? I'm not that important. I'm just like anyone else. But the trouble is, people out there will go, oh, he said this, he said this. And so I've now decided it's best just to keep my own counsel and not to go out there and say anything about anything. My wife and I just whinge at each other about certain aspects of what's going on, mostly about social media. But that's just see, I've just given an opinion about social media. I shouldn't have done that.
okay. I had a great time talking to you. Thank you so much for being so in the
Okay.
conversation. I have a nice
All
day.
right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
Cheers. Bye
June.
bye.